Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sneha and today I'm going to test one of the newer eye primers that I've purchased, and it's by the brand Viseart and it's their Seamless Eye Primer. So if you'd like to see how this eye primer performs on an oily eyelid, then please continue watching. This is what the packaging looks like. It's basically a black squeeze out tube. And you do get 10 ml in this for £20 in the UK or $24 in the US. If you guys have been following me for a while, you guys know that I have very oily eyelids, which means that most eye primers do not work for me. So even the very popular ones by Urban Decay, or say for example MAC, or even what is that, Benefit? I get Smashbox. I've tried all of them. I have them in my drawer, but none of them work on my oily eyelids. My eyeshadows tend to crease after a couple of hours or so with those eye primers. I do get different number of hours of wear depending on what brand I use, but there's only one brand that I can trust for crease-proof eye makeup, which is the NARS Pro Prime Eye Primer base. So my reference is going to be this on one eye, and then I'm going to test Viseart Eye Primer on the other eye. So I'm going to apply that right here. I usually like to blend it in with my ring finger. I just pat it in. And then once this is blended out, whatever's left on my finger, I like to apply it on my lower lash line. Like so. So it does tend to leave a little bit of white cast, I guess, compared to this eye, but I don't mind it because I always go over it with eyeshadows. Before I use the Viseart Eye Primer, I just wanted to mention that if you do end up buying this, please make sure that you shake it really well before use, because the eye primer in here tends to separate. So it's really important that you mix it up so you get almost like a milky formula once you take it out of the tube. It shouldn't be a very runny one. If it is, you are using it incorrectly. That's something I spoke with Anastasia, who is the owner of Viseart. She was saying that people were using it wrongly and therefore there are mixed reviews for this eye primer. So fingers crossed. I really love the brand Viseart. I hope it works for me because this is slightly cheaper than the NARS eye primer. So the NARS one, you get about 7 ml and it's about $19.50 or £20 in the UK, so the same price but less amount. And in the US it's about $26 compared to $24 for the Viseart. So shaking it up really well. It's definitely more of a liquid consistency compared to the NARS eye primer. Just taken out a little bit extra so you can see. So this is what the primer should look like. So I'm using a different finger and tapping it on my eyelid. This feels more like a face primer if you've used one by Smashbox, the clear one. Feels like it, but a little more liquidy version of that. I'm going to take a little bit for my lower lash line. So I still have so much remaining on my hand. So I'm just going to give them a moment to settle on my eyelids and I'll be right back. So one thing I've noticed is that, so I don't know if you can see on camera, but the portion where I applied the Viseart eye primer, do you see how much matte and poreless the skin looks right here compared to the skin next to it? And I don't know if you can see on the eyelid as well. So this is the eyelid which has the Viseart eye primer, and this is the one with the NARS eye primer. Now I do see that white cast that I spoke about with the NARS eye primer, whereas this one went on clear. But once it dries, it almost blurs out the fine lines and the skin. It gives a soft focus finish on the eye. I don't know if you can tell on camera. I'm going to come closer, hopefully you can. Can you guys tell? So I really like that about this eye primer actually. So I'm just going to use a clean finger just to feel if any of the eye primer is more tacky than the other. No, none of them feel particularly tacky, but this one, the Viseart one, already feels like there is some powder on it. It feels very smooth. So let's get on with the eyeshadows. I'm not going to apply powder on top just because I want to see the primers on their own. So I am going to use some Viseart eyeshadows on top. And since I haven't used the Grande Pro palette on my channel yet, I figured I would use this. And I think this blue eyeshadow is calling my name. So let's go for a blue smoky eye. So I'm going to take a flat brush and use the blue eyeshadow from this palette. So this one right here. So use any matte blue, dark blue eyeshadow that you may have. I'm just going to pack it on my eyelid. Just patting it in, up to the socket. I'm going to repeat the same on the other eye. Just making sure that the eyes are even. And by the way, if you're curious, the brush I'm using is by Peaches and Cream. It's the number PC20. It's great for packing on color. But I do see a subtle difference in the color as it's blending out. I don't know if you can tell. This one, just because the primer underneath is clear, it blends in more with my yellow skin tone and looks more green around here where it's blending out. And on this side, because the primer had that white cast, it's going on a little bit more blue also in the socket, but we'll see once it blends out. Then I'm also going to run this color under my lower lash line. Now to blend out the blue eyeshadow, I'm going to use this third shade from the top row. I'm going to apply that on the edges. This is like my transition shade. I'm going to take it towards my brow bone. I'm using that on one of the newer Hakuhodo brushes that I bought. Unfortunately, they don't have numbers on all their brushes, so I'm going to link it in the description box below if you're interested. Similar to the MAC 217 brush, but way slimmer. It's probably like 1/3 the size and comes to a finer tip compared to that brush. Okay, so it just gives a light gradient. I am going in with other eyeshadows after this. Then I want some warm brown shades. I think I'm going to use these two eyeshadows, and this is the Viseart Warm Matte palette. I'm going to use one of my recent favorite brushes, especially if you guys have hooded eyes like mine, you will love this. It's another brush by Hakuhodo, but just look how fine it is. It just comes to a beautiful tip, and it's more dense and pointed than the Wayne Goss brushes. This is a lovely brush, and I'm going to link it in the description box below if you're interested. But I think I'm first going to start with the shade in the crease. Just gives precise application of the eyeshadow. Repeat the same on this eye. Okay, going back in with that first brush we'd used. Just blending out the edges. Same with this side, no problem blending out the eyeshadows. So I'm going to take the same shade on my lower lash line. Now I'm going to take this reddish shade. Again, blending out the eyeshadow. And then finally, I'm going in with this darkest brown from the top row, this last shade. I'm going to apply that into my crease just to deepen up the look. And just to finish off this look, I'm going to pat on more blue eyeshadow on the lid, just in case it has lost some intensity while blending out with the other crease eyeshadows. Now to add some more blue onto the lower lash line close to the lashes, I'm going in with this small brush. This is by e.l.f. It's their concealer brush. Again, just taking some blue eyeshadow and stamping it close to the eyelashes. I'm just going to quickly add some eyeliner to my waterline, finish with mascara, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, this is the final look. I've paired it with a nude pink lipstick and some light pink blush. As far as application is concerned, I really can't tell a difference between the two eyes or the eye primers at this stage, especially after all the eyeshadows are blended. Initially, yes, I did see slight differences just because how the eye primer goes on initially. So white cast versus no white cast for the Viseart. So therefore the colors were more blending in with my skin tone and creating a different tinge. Just a minor fraction, but you know, obviously you're going to apply the same primer on both the eyelids, so that shouldn't be a factor. But as you've seen in the demo, the eyeshadow is applied really well. Sorry, I'm a little sick. And also the eyeshadows in the crease blended out really nicely, as you can see, and you know, there's no difference between the two eyes. So I'm going to check back in a few hours. So fingers crossed, I hope it doesn't crease, because it would be a cheaper option for me to buy the Viseart over the NARS one. So I'll see you guys in a few hours. So I'm back and it's been about 5 hours since I applied the eyeshadow. So let's have a closer look at the eye. This is the Viseart eye. This is the NARS eye. Honestly, I can't tell a difference, which is amazing. I'm so excited that this primer is actually working for me. I think they look pretty good. So usually the primers that don't work for me usually fail within the 1 to 3 hour window. So since this has worked past that, it's been 5 hours, I think it's just going to last as long as the NARS eye primer. But I am going to keep an eye out for that, and in case something changes, I will come back. But my final thoughts is that I absolutely love this eye primer. It does work out to be slightly cheaper than the NARS eye primer for me, so I'm really excited and thrilled that I finally have another eye primer that actually works on my oily eyelids. It definitely stays true to its claims. So what I forgot to mention during application is that it's also meant to be a little bit moisturizing for the eye. So I did feel that because it does go on kind of wet on the eye. I don't think this is a substitute for an eye cream, but it does feel kind of a little bit wet and moisturizing before it does dry down. Secondly, it did reduce the appearance of the fine lines and reduce the texture on the eye. So this is especially good for people who have a lot of texture and even for mature women. And then thirdly, they said it's crease proof, and as you can see, I have very oily eyelids and it definitely is crease proof. So overall, I give it a big thumbs up. I really hope this review video was useful to you guys. And if you guys have tried this new eye primer, do let me know in the comment section below how you got along with it. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me.